Wikicast Podcast.
Welcome to episode number 3 of the Wikicast Podcast. My name is Steve O'Gallagher, and once again I have the very capable, or handy-capable, Adam Pollard. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
As we promised this week, we're going to be talking about the British Empire. Now, I'm quite excited by this because the previous episodes I knew quite a bit about, and I was able to just kind of yak on and mumble and feel like I had some sort of knowledge. But this week, I know pretty much nothing, I think.
Whereas I know some.
That's
So
good.
this is kind of the first one where we've really relied on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
heavily.
properly.
So this should be this is what it's meant to be.
this could be an indication of how disastrous or great this could be. This could be great, Adam. This could be the best episode we'll ever do.
Yeah.
Why not shoot for the moon? So, did you? Because I moved around in lots of countries and I learned various different histories. When I was in America, I had to learn American history. I can't remember really
Ever learning any British history?
No, I mean I remember when I lived in Scotland. I was really young. We learned about World War II.
And William Wallace.
Maybe we did, but this is between the age of about 4 and
Yeah. Well, I don't
8.
know. I think we mainly did the sort of classics in like lower school. We did do the British Empire, but it was always done with a degree of
what? Yeah, meaning
that wasn't the best thing that we did. I mean, it was always done with a mixture of extreme pride and extreme shame.
yeah.
So I mean, like, we're gonna cover. I mean, we're gonna cover quite a lot of varied things today.
Great,
I think.
because literally all I know really
Is it happened?
What?
Is it happened?
Is it happened? Yeah, my knowledge of the quote unquote British Empire is you once had one, and
really
I only
big.
Yeah, I guess it must have been, and I only know this really from stand-up comedians who allude to it.
Okay, well, I guess probably the best place to start is going to be Ireland, because that was our first colony,
Really?
your homeland.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, so you got a taste of the good stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll have more of this.
And from there, we sort of we honed it on the Welsh, the Scottish,
It's nice.
and the Irish, and then we took it
you
global.
practice at home in your back garden, and then you take it to the park, don't you?
So, I mean, what are your preconceptions of it?
And this is kind of shameful. My knowledge even of Ireland is limited because I was brought up everywhere else.
Yeah.
And anytime I do visit Ireland, it's just to hang out with relatives and stuff. They don't really chat about the British Empire,
No.
funnily enough.
Yeah.
But I
So
do.
you don't have any? Do you see it as like a bad thing, a good thing?
Ooh, well, I probably don't know enough about it to call either way. I would naively think it would have been quite nice if we were left to our own devices. But then I imagine we probably wouldn't be very modern,
Yeah.
technology-wise right now. But I do have the impression that the British came over and did what is probably quite a common British thing in this whole empire, is to go, excuse me,
That's ours.
this is ours. We're more sophisticated than you, and we'll help you. You know, we'll give you lots of very interesting things.
Yeah.
But all of this is all ours, and so are you, sort of. We're your
Well, it
lords
definitely
now.
enters into the shame side of it. Definitely the whole.
that-
Have you
is
heard of white man's burden?
No.
Well, it's kind of like the idea that the empire was sort of the justification for why they went around doing what they did. It was, we're white, and it's our job to civilize and educate everyone else. So we're coming not to exploit you, not to take everything you have, not to input, but
is
we're
it-
here to help you, to educate you.
Is it
and
like non-religious missionaryism?
yeah.
Okay.
I imagine there was probably quite a lot of religious zeal that went on as
Sure.
well. I mean, Africa is pretty much Christian now, isn't it? It's the sort of sub-Saharan
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a legacy of...
It's probably the most
France.
Christian place in the world, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, there's more sort of Church of England, in sort of air quotes, in Africa, I think, than there is in England.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Like
That would surprise me.
Protestant... Yeah.
Did they just at some point go over to Ireland then and just go, hi, how are you? We're in charge now.
Well, I mean, to be honest, the Irish side of it's probably the bit I know least about. But as I understand it, yeah. William of Orange
Wow.
sort of went over, conquered it. And then until, Easter Rising, which was 1916-ish?
Okay.
mid World War One
Uh-huh.
is when you had the Easter Rising, which is this kind of feels strange telling an Irish
Yeah,
person
it's
about
so
the
embarrassing.
birth of their country.
What is the Easter Rising?
The Easter Rising.
God, my parents, if they heard this, they'd be ashamed.
The Easter Rising was a bunch of at the time they were very unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted independence for Ireland, and in Ireland they were not popular. They were seen as
Is the IRA?
it would have been, I
Maybe-
suppose, the beginnings of the original IRA.
Okay.
I don't know if they actually. I can't remember.
Oh,
what
I
they
know a
called
name. I
themselves.
think there's a guy called Michael Collins
Could well be.
who helped go against the English. I saw some film.
But essentially, what they did is they weren't very popular, and there was maybe, a few hundred of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they stormed the post office.
Is that where the English lived?
Well, it would be like just taking over the internet.
Okay, so is
the
a useful
equivalent-
enough thing that they took it hostage?
Well, it'd be
effectively?
like taking control of all of the TV airwaves.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you don't have post,
You have no information.
you can't communicate. So
Ah.
if you control the post office, you've kind of scuppered everything that, all of the communication across Ireland, the British had to find sort of workarounds
Wow.
at the time.
God,
So they
we're-
did that.
We're not so stupid after all.
But this was 1916, so this was 2 years into World War One,
Right.
and these guys were not popular. Everyone in Dublin was like, idiots.
Uh-huh.
We're in the post office. Can't go to the post office. And they were not popular across Ireland. But then because World War One was going on and all of the British soldiers were abroad, they panicked a little bit
Mm.
and they released, I think it's something like 10,000 criminals and gave them uniforms and guns and were like, take back the post office.
Good God.
So the sort of following few days, there was a pretty big massacre in the centre of Dublin, which was preceded with a huge crackdown on anything Irish across,
In Dublin. How are they going to do that?
I mean, there was, the centre of Dublin was controlled by the rebels or the IRA or whoever they were. And then they just went in and started shooting and artillery. So you can imagine that's kind of where the nationalism spirit kind of was born.
Yeah, that might
Releasing criminals, giving them guns, and then sending them around Ireland, rounding up anyone that spoke Irish.
Wow.
It's not gonna end well.
No.
So that was our first colony
Wow.
that sort of left. I mean, I think we should probably. Wasn't really the empire then. That was
No.
just
They,
sort
they
of
were
like
just brushing their
European-
teeth and getting ready.
So then I suppose the next phase was going over to America.
Right.
We all know. I'm sure you know how that ended.
Yeah, it did very interestingly.
Tea Party and
Yeah.
such.
Yeah.
But I think like the most interesting thing about it, which is I think it's hard for us to sort of comprehend now, is just how big and powerful the British Empire was at its peak.
Mm.
After 1815, which is when we defeated Napoleon, once we defeated Napoleon, there were no rivals. And from 1815 till 1914, the British Empire was what's called a hegemon.
I
Hegemon.
feel like I've heard that name before. That word before.
Well, to give you an idea of just how powerful a hegemon basically means you're so powerful that everyone else cannot challenge you.
Even if they all pulled together.
Even if they all pull together, your word is law.
So it's
You have got a lot of soldiers.
it's an empire version of a monopoly in a market.
It is basically, that's exactly what it is.
Wow.
Now, to give you a comparison of how powerful the British Empire was,
Hmm.
America hasn't really ever been a hegemon.
Well, okay.
So
yeah, no, I
America's a
understand that.
superpower,
Yeah,
but it was never.
but it
it's ne-
couldn't take on the entire world.
No, because the Cold War. It won the Cold War, but even after the Cold War,
Still, Russia's a
Iraq,
major power.
Vietnam, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They're not the sort of. It's not powerful enough to
No.
just dominate the entire world.
And the Britons did that. So was it Napoleon was the one before them? Do you think he ever had a...
Well, Napoleon had like a European empire,
Mhm.
and he was obviously Britain's main rival. And after sort of Waterloo and Trafalgar and these kind of like pivotal moments,
Mhm.
we'd won. So they continued to have an empire, and we had various like on-off wars with them.
Right.
But it was very much a one-sided affair.
Right.
It was continued. I just realised I keep saying we. Whoa.
Yeah, so how
This is
old are
the
you?
mixture
You're,
of-
you're a good 200 years old, right?
Yeah. I was there at Trafalgar.
Well, it's a natural, it's a common thing. It's like people that would support football teams.
But
And you're like, oh yeah, we won. Like, no, they won. You watched. But I do the same thing when I watch the.
It would be the same as football teams if the football team went around hacking to death the other teams, like supporters.
Okay.
Anyway, that's a weird moment.